The human soldier chose the least admired alien princess as his. The galaxy was alive with the quiet hum of anticipation. Across distant star systems, ambassadors, soldiers, and royalty prepared for the ceremonial convocation that would determine the alliances of the coming century. In the heart of the Zevran Dominion's capital, the Grand Palace stretched like a crown over the city, its towers gleaming in the light of three suns. Outside, hovering vehicles glided past in orderly lines, carrying dignitaries and their entourages to the palace gates. Among them moved Sergeant Marcus, a human soldier whose reputation had been quietly growing across interstellar networks. Marcus was not flashy, nor was he loud. He relied on calm intelligence and observation, traits that humans were often underestimated for in the galaxy. His mission was simple in words but complex in reality. He was assigned to the royal convoy as an escort, ensuring the safety of the attending princesses as they prepared for a new interstellar partnership. The crowd inside the palace was a kaleidoscope of color and status. Alien royals in flowing garments adorned with luminous gems mingled with military officers whose uniforms shimmered with metallic accents. Whispers and polite laughter carried through the marble halls. Marcus, moving with careful precision, observed everything, noting which royals commanded attention and which were ignored. Among them was Princess Leora, the youngest daughter of the Zevran Dominion. She stood slightly apart from the crowd, her posture relaxed but her eyes sharp, scanning the room with quiet curiosity. Where other princesses flaunted their status with elaborate gestures and sparkling jewelry, Leora's attire was simple, her hair unadorned, yet there was an air of awareness around her that drew Marcus's attention immediately. While the other princesses were applauded as they entered the ceremonial hall, Leora remained in the shadows, smiling faintly at the spectacle. It was not the kind of smile meant to charm anyone. It was the kind of smile that suggested she understood far more than anyone expected. Alien courtiers whispered behind hands and translated gestures, noting her absence from the center of admiration. She was the least admired of the royal daughters, often overlooked in conversations and planning, yet there was something quietly magnetic about her. Marcus, trained to notice subtleties, saw that spark, and it made him curious. Humans were taught to value courage and intelligence above spectacle, and Leora seemed to embody both without drawing attention. The ceremony began with a series of formal speeches and displays of interstellar maps and technological achievements. The most celebrated princesses were praised for their strategic wisdom, their knowledge of alien cultures, and their promise in diplomacy. Cameras floated overhead, capturing their every move, while Marcus's eyes remained fixed on Leora as she leaned slightly forward, whispering notes to a nearby aide. Her voice was soft but precise, and he could see the conviction in her gestures. While the others sought approval, she sought understanding. Marcus recognized in her a quality humans valued deeply, an unassuming strength. After the speeches, the convocation organizers called for the assignment of human escorts to each princess. The expectation was clear. Marcus, respected among his peers for his abilities, would be paired with one of the most admired princesses, ensuring a successful partnership in upcoming exploratory missions. Whispers filled the room. Surely he will choose Princess Valera or Princess Anna. It would be unthinkable for him to choose the youngest. Yet Marcus moved quietly across the polished floor, his gaze never leaving Leora. When he reached her, Leora looked up with an almost playful curiosity. "I wasn't expecting you," she said, her voice carrying just enough warmth to suggest neither surprise nor fear. "Most humans avoid the least admired." Marcus smiled faintly. "I prefer substance over ceremony," he replied simply. "I've noticed you understand more than you let on." The court gasped quietly. No human had ever been so direct, and no princess, especially one as overlooked as Leora, had ever received such acknowledgement in public. Her eyes widened for a moment, and then she laughed softly, a sound both genuine and rare in the stately halls. It was a small sound, but Marcus recognized it immediately. This was someone who had waited long for recognition, not for flattery, but for understanding. The rest of the ceremony continued around them, yet a subtle shift occurred. Courtiers whispered among themselves, some in disbelief, others in curiosity. The human soldier had chosen the princess no one admired, no one expected, and in that choice lay a quiet defiance of expectations. Leora did not seem shocked or pleased, she seemed simply recognized. In the following days, Marcus and Leora began to prepare for their mission into the auroral expanse, a vast nebula at the edge of the known galaxy. Their assignment was both ceremonial and practical. They would represent the Zevran dominion and human ingenuity, exploring potential sites for colonization and studying relics of ancient civilizations. Most alien leaders doubted Leora's abilities, seeing her as a liability. Her unconventional ideas about navigation, energy patterns, and historical interpretation had always been dismissed as irrelevant. Yet Marcus knew that these very qualities were likely to make the mission a success. As they trained and prepared, Marcus noticed Leora's approach to problem-solving was meticulous and intuitive. While the other princesses relied on advisors, charts, and strict protocols, she would sketch patterns in the air, rearranging ideas until the solution revealed itself. Marcus found himself quietly impressed, not by the complexity of her methods, but by her ability to see patterns that others ignored. Human training emphasized observation, adaptation, and creativity, and in this, Marcus recognized a kindred spirit. One evening, as the twin suns began to set and the palace cast long shadows over the city, Leora approached Marcus on the balcony overlooking the central plaza. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "no one expects me to succeed. Everyone assumes I am too ordinary, too quiet. But I've always thought that the galaxy's assumptions are often wrong." Marcus looked out over the plaza, where crowds had begun to gather for evening festivities. "Underestimation is a tool humans often use," he said. "It allows us to see opportunities others overlook. You have the same advantage here." She smiled, a bit more openly this time, and Marcus noticed something in her eyes, a determination that had been shaped by years of being disregarded. It was not bitterness, it was clarity. The ability to remain focused despite judgment, to find solutions while others talked, to see the world differently. These were qualities humans admired and depended upon. The next day, as the convoy prepared for departure, Marcus watched Leora move through the palace corridors. Her interactions with the staff were gentle yet purposeful. She asked questions, listened carefully, and took notes in a way that made it clear she valued accuracy over appearances. Other princesses passed by, adorned in ceremonial attire, and exchanged smiles, laughter, and gestures designed to impress. Leora remained grounded, her attention on preparation rather than performance. Marcus found himself reflecting on the unique energy of humans, the ability to value practicality, empathy, and insight over spectacle. Here, in a princess overlooked by her own people, he saw a reflection of human values that often went unrecognized in galactic affairs. When it was time to board the exploration ship, the atmosphere was tense with anticipation. Alien dignitaries and reporters watched closely, some still skeptical, others quietly curious. Marcus and Leora moved together, coordinating their supplies, reviewing mission protocols, and checking systems. Their interactions were seamless, built on mutual respect rather than obligation. Marcus admired Leora's subtle confidence, and she seemed to recognize the same quality in him. The ship lifted from the palace docking bay with a quiet roar, leaving the city lights behind. From above, the capital gleamed like a jewel among the clouds. As the stars spread around them, Leora looked out at the nebula ahead, her eyes reflecting curiosity, wonder, and an unspoken excitement for the unknown. Marcus remained by her side, noting the subtle calculations she made, the patterns she traced with her fingers across navigation panels. "This is why I chose you," he said softly, breaking the quiet hum of the engines. "Not because of titles or ceremonies or appearances. Because you see differently, and in the galaxy, that matters more than anyone admits." Leora turned to him, her gaze steady. "Then I am glad you see," she replied, "because I have always wanted someone to notice what truly matters." As the ship glided into the auroral expanse, a soft glow of distant stars and swirling gases illuminated their path. Unknown worlds, ancient relics, and hidden patterns awaited them, and for the first time, Leora felt not like the overlooked princess, but like a valued partner. Marcus felt a similar sense of anticipation, recognizing that human adaptability and intuition would be tested in ways no one could predict. The galaxy around them remained vast, complex, and indifferent, but within the confines of the ship, two individuals, human and alien, prepared to navigate challenges together, relying on intelligence, trust, and the subtle power of seeing what others ignored. And so the mission began, not with fanfare nor with recognition, but with quiet understanding, mutual respect, and a shared determination to prove that even the underestimated could change the course of the universe. The auroral expanse stretched endlessly before them, a vast curtain of swirling gases, shimmering lights, and distant stars. To anyone else, it might have seemed chaotic and impossible to navigate, but Marcus and Leora approached it with steady focus. Marcus adjusted the ship's instruments while Leora leaned over the console, tracing invisible lines with her fingers as if reading a secret language in the patterns of the nebula. "You see it too, don't you?" she asked, her voice quiet, almost reverent. Marcus glanced at her, curiosity clear in his expression. "Yes," he said. "Most would see only chaos, but you notice patterns where others see random light and color." Leora smiled faintly. "I've always noticed what others ignore." "Maybe it's because I've always been ignored myself." Marcus thought about that for a moment. Humans were taught that observation and patience were strengths. In a galaxy full of spectacle and noise, these traits often went unnoticed, much like Leora herself. "That makes you more valuable than they realize," he said, his tone steady, confident. Hours passed as they guided the ship deeper into the nebula. Outside the viewport, clouds of iridescent gases swirled and shifted with slow, majestic movement. Tiny fragments of ancient structures appeared in the distance, remnants of civilizations long vanished. Leora's eyes sparkled with excitement as she adjusted readings and took notes. "There's something here," she said, "something hidden beneath the gas layers." "It's faint, but it's consistent." Marcus leaned over her shoulder, scanning the instruments. "I see it. You're right. It doesn't make sense on the maps, but your calculations match the readings. Whoever built this knew how to hide it in plain sight." The excitement in the ship was subtle but undeniable. While the rest of the galaxy had written off the auroral expanse as dangerous and unimportant, Marcus and Leora were discovering its secrets, layer by layer. Their collaboration was seamless. Marcus's human intuition helped interpret raw data quickly, while Leora's knowledge of alien technology and history revealed the deeper significance of their discoveries. As they approached one of the hidden structures, the ship's sensors detected unusual energy patterns. Leora's eyes widened. "This is incredible," she said. "These readings, they're not natural. This structure was designed to survive time itself. Whoever created it had knowledge beyond what we know today." Marcus nodded, equally impressed. "It seems the galaxy underestimated them, and underestimated us as well." For hours, they explored the ruins, documenting the alien technology and deciphering symbols etched into the walls. Leora's insights were invaluable, her unconventional thinking allowing them to connect ideas that no traditional scholar had considered. Marcus watched her work, realizing that the galaxy's dismissal of her abilities had been based solely on appearances. In truth, she was brilliant. As the ship drifted through the nebula, communication from the Zevran Dominion crackled through the console. The alien dignitaries were curious, and some were skeptical. "Princess Leora," one voice said, carefully formal, "the rest of your companions report limited progress. Is this mission proceeding as expected?" Leora smiled faintly. "We are making discoveries that will benefit the Dominion. Progress is slower because the structures are intricate, but every step reveals more than anyone anticipated." The voice paused. "Very well, continue your work, but be mindful of time constraints." After the transmission ended, Marcus turned to her. "They don't expect much from you. They think you'll fail or find nothing." Leora's eyes glimmered. "Then they won't be disappointed when we succeed, but I want them to see more than the results. I want them to understand why we saw what others could not." Marcus nodded. That was precisely the kind of thinking that humans admired, seeing not only the solution, but also the value in the process, in understanding, in intelligence and creativity. The following day, they discovered a chamber that seemed intact despite the passage of millennia. Its walls were covered in faint markings, geometric shapes that pulsed faintly with energy. Leora ran her hands along the walls, eyes wide with fascination. "These markings, they are instructions, but not just for machines. They are instructions for understanding, for interaction. Whoever created this wanted to teach, not just store information." Marcus studied the patterns closely. "It's almost like a language, but layered. The first layer is obvious, easy to read." The deeper layers require intuition, observation, and reasoning. You're right, Leora said, her voice hushed. And I think I can access it, but it will require careful thought and patience. Marcus watched her work, thinking about how often humans relied on patience and observation. In a galaxy obsessed with power, speed, and spectacle, these traits were underestimated. Yet here they were exactly what was needed. Leora's focus, combined with his guidance and practical insight, was unlocking secrets no one else could. Hours turned into days. The chamber revealed more layers of data, more relics of knowledge, and more puzzles to solve. Marcus and Leora spent long hours side by side, not because they were ordered to, but because they wanted to. Every discovery strengthened their mutual respect. Marcus admired Leora's brilliance, and she valued his calm reasoning and steady support. Their teamwork was not flashy, but it was effective, and slowly the galaxy's expectations began to feel irrelevant. One night, while the ship drifted in the quiet of the nebula, Leora spoke softly, almost to herself. Do you think they'll ever understand why we were chosen for this mission? That it wasn't about status or admiration, but about seeing the world differently? Marcus leaned back in his chair, watching the soft glow of nebula clouds pass the viewport. I don't know. Some never will, but it doesn't matter. What matters is what we do here and how we see things others overlook. That is what changes the galaxy, not ceremonies or titles. She looked at him, her expression thoughtful. You think humans are different? I know humans are different, he replied. We're underestimated more often than we deserve, but that gives us opportunities. We observe, adapt, and act in ways no one expects. That's what makes us effective. Leora considered his words. For so long, she had felt the sting of being overlooked, of being dismissed for her quiet intelligence. Now, with Marcus, she realized that what the galaxy had called her weakness was actually her greatest strength. The patience, the attention to detail, the refusal to bow to expectation, all of it mattered, and for the first time, someone recognized it. The next morning brought a significant breakthrough. Leora had deciphered a sequence in the markings that activated a mechanism within the chamber. Lights pulsed rhythmically, and a hidden compartment opened to reveal a collection of crystalline data storage units. The technology seemed delicate yet durable, a testament to the advanced civilization that had built it. Marcus approached, his eyes scanning the compartments. This could rewrite parts of galactic history. No one has ever found anything like this in the auroral expanse. Leora nodded, her face glowing with quiet triumph. And they thought I couldn't succeed. They thought my ideas were insignificant, but look at this. Every piece was hidden in patterns they didn't understand. Only observation, patience, and thinking differently could reveal it. They spent hours cataloging and analyzing the data, working together seamlessly. Every discovery reinforced a pattern. The galaxy's assumptions were often wrong, and humans, with their unique combination of intuition and logic, could see what others missed. Leora's unconventional thinking paired with Marcus's methodical reasoning was proving to be an unstoppable combination. As the days passed, they encountered more hidden chambers, each with its own puzzles and challenges. The alien technology seemed designed not only to be functional, but to test understanding, reward careful thought, and encourage creativity. Leora thrived in this environment, and Marcus found himself continually impressed by her ability to notice details others would miss. Humans are underestimated everywhere, Marcus said one evening as they analyzed the latest discovery. But sometimes that underestimation is an advantage. People don't expect us to notice subtle patterns, to see connections they miss. It allows us to achieve things quietly without interference. Leora smiled, her eyes reflecting the nebula's soft glow. It's similar for me. No one expects the least admired princess to succeed, so I can work without constant scrutiny. I can observe, learn, and understand without distraction. Marcus nodded, realizing that this partnership was more than just a mission. It was a demonstration of what intelligence, patience, and insight could achieve when the overlooked were given space to thrive. The galaxy measured power in loud displays, status, and spectacle. But here, in the quiet of the nebula, true capability revealed itself. As they prepared for another exploration day, Marcus watched Leora make her careful calculations, adjust equipment, and trace patterns that no one else could see. He realized that their success was not due to luck or circumstance, but to a shared quality. the ability to see value where others had failed to notice it. By the time they set course for the next sector of the nebula, Leora and Marcus had become more than mission partners. They were collaborators in discovery, combining human intuition with alien knowledge in a way that no one else could match. The galaxy's assumptions about weakness, failure, and underestimation were slowly being challenged, not through force, but through understanding, patience, and intelligence. In the quiet moments, when the ship floated through glowing clouds of interstellar gas, Leora often reflected on the journey that had led her here. She had spent her life being overlooked, dismissed, and underestimated. Now, with Marcus by her side, she understood that those experiences had prepared her for this moment. She had learned to observe, to think carefully, to trust her intuition. And together, she and Marcus were proving that the underestimated could accomplish extraordinary things. Marcus, in turn, recognized that humans often thrived in situations where others were limited by expectation. The galaxy had a habit of valuing spectacle over substance, appearances over understanding. But here, in the auroral expanse, the true measure of capability was revealed. And it was quietly, patiently, undeniably human. As the ship glided onward into the depths of the nebula, both Leora and Marcus knew that the real challenges were only beginning. The structures they had discovered hinted at civilizations far older and wiser than any currently known. But they also knew something else. Together, they could navigate what no one else could, see what no one else could, and succeed where the galaxy least expected it. And in that quiet understanding, a partnership formed. One built not on ceremony, not on admiration, and not on expectation, but on intelligence, insight, and mutual respect. The human soldier and the least admired princess were becoming a force not of violence, but of discovery, patience, and vision, a combination the galaxy had yet to comprehend. The nebula stretched endlessly, a sea of shifting colors and light, as Marcus and Leora guided their ship deeper into its heart. Every passing cloud of gas seemed alive, moving in slow, mesmerizing patterns, and the faint glimmer of ancient structures occasionally broke through the mist. The further they went, the more Leora realized that these relics were not simply abandoned. They were carefully placed, hidden, and designed to test understanding. "We've never seen anything like this before," Leora said softly, her eyes tracing the contours of a distant spire visible through the nebula's haze. "Everything here is deliberate. The architecture, the energy flows, even the way the nebula reacts to our presence. It's as if this place was meant to guide someone, or something, toward knowledge." Marcus adjusted the navigation controls, keeping the ship steady through the shifting gas currents. "It's incredible. The galaxy has always assumed these sectors were dangerous or useless. No one stopped to think that intelligence, not force, might have been required to navigate them." Leora turned to him, her expression thoughtful. "Intelligence is often overlooked. The galaxy values spectacle, power, and reputation, but understanding. That takes patience, attention, and insight, qualities humans have in abundance, and apparently some aliens as well." Marcus smiled faintly. "We've learned that already, and it seems the underestimated can achieve remarkable things when no one expects it." Their next discovery came unexpectedly. As they approached a particularly dense area of the nebula, sensors detected a pattern in the energy currents, subtle, almost imperceptible, yet consistent. Leora leaned over the console, tracing the fluctuations with her fingers. "This isn't random," she said. "It's a signal or maybe a path." Marcus peered at the readings. "A path, but to where?" Leora's eyes gleamed. "To something important. Whoever created this wanted it to be found, but only by those who could see the patterns." Hours of careful maneuvering followed, with Marcus guiding the ship through narrow corridors of dense gas while Leora interpreted the signals. Every time they thought they had reached the source, the currents shifted, and a new pattern emerged. The work was exhausting, but neither complained. The challenge itself was part of the reward, and each small breakthrough filled them with quiet satisfaction. At last, they arrived at a massive crystalline structure suspended in the nebula, glowing faintly with energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. The ship's instruments registered strange readings, energy flows that defied conventional understanding, inscriptions that seemed to change depending on the observer's perspective, and a subtle harmony in the way the nebula's currents interacted with the structure. Leora's voice was barely audible. "It's beautiful and alive in its own way. This is a repository of knowledge, not just a monument. Whoever built it wanted to communicate, to teach. Marcus nodded. And it seems they trusted the observer to understand it. As they docked near the structure, Leora guided Marcus through the process of aligning the ship's sensors with the crystalline interface. Lights shimmered across the surface, revealing intricate patterns that were at once mathematical, artistic, and seemingly intuitive. Leora studied the interface carefully. It's designed to respond to thought and perception, she said. It isn't about brute force or strength. You have to understand the system, feel it, and then act. Marcus observed her work in quiet admiration. Leora's ability to perceive subtle connections reminded him of the human capacity for intuition, for seeing what others overlooked. You've always had this skill, he said softly. No one noticed because they never looked closely enough. Her eyes met his briefly and she smiled faintly. I'm glad someone finally did. Together, they activated the interface. Holographic symbols floated in the air, forming shifting constellations of knowledge. At first, it seemed indecipherable, a jumble of light and sound, but as they focused, patterns emerged. Leora began tracing sequences in the air, aligning energy flows and connecting symbols. Marcus adjusted the ship's systems to support her calculations, providing stability and measurement where intuition alone could not suffice. Hours turned into days as they worked. The structure revealed layer after layer of information, some of it practical, some of it philosophical, all of it pointing to an advanced civilization whose understanding of the galaxy far exceeded anything known. Leora's insights were vital. She could see connections that Marcus could not, while Marcus's methodical reasoning prevented mistakes and allowed them to test theories safely. As they decoded more of the repository, a realization struck them. The knowledge contained here was not just historical or technological. It was a guide to understanding intelligence itself. The creators had designed their structures to teach patience, observation, and insight. They had deliberately hidden information, allowing only those with the right combination of perception and reasoning to access it. This explains why no one else has succeeded here, Leora said quietly. The galaxy expected force, speed, or ceremony. They never expected understanding, Marcus nodded. And yet here we are, underestimated, overlooked, but capable of seeing what others cannot. The success of their exploration began to ripple through the galaxy in subtle ways. Alien dignitaries and scientists monitoring communications became curious, some skeptical, some quietly intrigued. The fact that the least admired princess, paired with a human soldier, was making such progress challenged long-held assumptions. Leora and Marcus did not seek recognition. Their focus remained on discovery. Yet the growing reports could not be ignored. One day, as they examined a particularly complex set of glyphs, Leora paused, her eyes narrowing. This pattern, it's different. The creators left a challenge here, a final test of observation and reasoning. It's not about what we know, it's about how we think. Marcus studied the glyphs carefully. A test. They want to see if we can understand relationships, not just data. That makes sense. Humans often see connections others overlook because we're used to improvising, adapting, and thinking in multiple dimensions. Leora nodded. Exactly, but it's tricky. One wrong step and the sequence could collapse. We need precision and patience. For hours, they traced sequences in the air, adjusting energy flows, aligning symbols, and interpreting the subtle shifts in the structure's responses. The process demanded concentration, collaboration, and trust. Marcus guided Leora when she faltered, and she corrected him when his calculations were too rigid. Together, they complemented each other perfectly, their different approaches forming a balanced understanding that neither could achieve alone. At last, the final sequence activated. A hidden chamber opened within the crystalline structure, revealing a repository of holographic archives. The images projected scenes of alien worlds, technological innovations, and philosophical teachings. Leora's eyes shone with awe. It's everything, the knowledge of a civilization that understood the universe in ways we are only beginning to grasp. Marcus stepped closer, observing the holographic projections. And they trusted the observer. They didn't need force or ceremony, they needed understanding. That's why we succeeded where others failed. They spent days studying the archives, documenting their findings, and piecing together the civilization's teachings. Each day brought new revelations about energy manipulation, sustainable technology, and ways of thinking that challenged conventional galactic beliefs. Leora's unconventional ideas, once dismissed as irrelevant, proved essential in understanding the deeper layers of the repository. During one quiet evening, as they recorded their notes and prepared for rest, Leora turned to Marcus. "Do you ever think about why humans are underestimated so often?" Marcus considered this, looking out at the shifting nebula clouds. "Yes, we're different. We're not bound by expectations, tradition, or appearances in the same way. People often assume that means we're weak or unprepared, but those assumptions are exactly what allow us to succeed where others fail." She smiled faintly. "Then perhaps being underestimated isn't a disadvantage after all. Perhaps it's a strength." Marcus nodded. "It can be if you use it wisely. You've done the same thing here. The galaxy dismissed you, ignored you, and yet your insight has unlocked what others could not." They continued their work, often in silence, occasionally exchanging quiet observations or small, shared smiles of satisfaction. The nebula around them was vast, mysterious, and indifferent, but within their small ship, they were building knowledge, understanding, and a quiet partnership that challenged the expectations of both humans and aliens alike. As days turned into weeks, the discoveries they made had the potential to reshape the galaxy's understanding of intelligence, technology, and collaboration. They realized that success did not require violence, dominance, or grand displays. It required patience, insight, and the willingness to see value where others did not. In this, humans and the least admired princess of the Zevran Dominion excelled beyond imagination. One day, as they prepared to transmit their findings back to the Dominion, Leora paused and looked at Marcus. "Do you think they'll understand what we've discovered?" Marcus smiled faintly. "Some will, some may never fully grasp it. But what matters is that we understand it, and that we've proven what underestimated individuals can achieve. Recognition is secondary, understanding is primary." She nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Then I'm glad you see it. You've always understood, even when no one else did." Marcus's gaze softened. "And I'm glad you've shown me that sometimes the least admired are the ones who can teach the most." Together, they sent the data and their interpretations back to the Dominion, carefully ensuring that it could be understood and appreciated. Even if the galaxy was slow to recognize the significance of their discoveries, Marcus and Leora knew that intelligence, patience, and insight would always endure, even if overlooked for a time. As they prepared to continue deeper into the nebula, they knew that the real challenge was just beginning. The crystalline structures hinted at knowledge far beyond anything they had uncovered, lessons about civilizations that had mastered observation, reasoning, and understanding. The galaxy had assumed that humans and overlooked aliens could not contribute meaningfully. Marcus and Leora were proving that assumption wrong, not with force, but with quiet determination, intelligence, and collaboration. And as the ship glided forward into the glowing clouds, they felt the weight of possibility. They were not just explorers. They were teachers in their own right, demonstrating that patience, observation, and understanding could succeed where assumptions and spectacle could not. In the heart of the auroral expanse, the human soldier and the least admired princess were becoming living proof of the power of underestimated minds. The auroral expanse stretched before them like a living tapestry, a vast realm of glowing gases, drifting debris, and ancient relics. Marcus and Leora had spent weeks exploring its depths, unlocking secrets that no one else had ever discovered. Each layer of crystalline structures revealed knowledge about civilizations long gone, civilizations that had shaped the galaxy in ways no history book had recorded. With every new discovery, they realized that their mission was far more important than they had imagined, not just a test of exploration, but a demonstration of what underestimated minds could achieve. Leora carefully adjusted the sensors on the ship as they approached a particularly massive structure. Its surface pulsed with light, shifting between colors as if responding to their presence. "This one is different," she said quietly, her eyes tracing the patterns across the crystalline walls. "It's not just storage or data, it's teaching something. The patterns are lessons." Marcus studied the readings. "Lessons? What kind of lessons?" She smiled faintly, almost to herself. "About intelligence, observation, and understanding. Whoever created this wanted the observer to grow, not just find information. It's a test of perception and collaboration." Marcus nodded, recognizing the parallel with their own journey. The galaxy had assumed humans were weak, that Leora was insignificant. Yet here, in the depths of the nebula, their combination of intuition, reasoning, and patience was exactly what was needed. Their abilities complemented each other, allowing them to see connections others would never notice. As they approached the structure, Leora began to decipher the complex energy flows, moving her hands over the interface in precise gestures. The walls responded to her touch, shifting patterns and illuminating pathways that had been hidden until now. Marcus adjusted the ship's systems to synchronize with the energy pulses, ensuring stability and precision. Together, they unlocked new chambers, each revealing holographic archives filled with knowledge about alien energy manipulation, sustainable technologies, and philosophical insights that challenged conventional thinking. "This is incredible," Marcus said softly, gazing at the holographic projections of alien worlds and inventions. "The galaxy doesn't even know this exists. If they understood what we found, everything would change." Leora nodded, her eyes shining. "But understanding takes more than seeing the data. You have to interpret it, think about it, and apply it. The galaxy is too focused on appearances to appreciate that." Hours passed as they worked, and slowly the truth of the expanse became clear. The structures were not just relics. They were designed to teach, to challenge observers, to reward patience, insight, and collaboration. Every mechanism and hologram required them to combine their skills. Leora's unconventional thinking and intuition, and Marcus's methodical reasoning and practical knowledge. At one point, they encountered a chamber with a massive central prism, its surfaces shifting in impossible geometries. Leora examined the inscriptions etched along its edges. "This is a test of relationships," she said, her voice filled with quiet awe. "It's not about the data itself. It's about how you connect the pieces, how you understand the whole from its parts." Marcus studied the prism carefully. "It's like a puzzle designed to reward thinking differently. Most would try to force a solution. We have to observe, adapt, and trust our instincts." For hours, they worked together, tracing energy flows, adjusting the ship's systems, and mapping the holographic projections. Each step required precision and collaboration. One wrong move could reset the patterns, forcing them to start again. Yet neither complained. The challenge itself was a reward, and each small breakthrough strengthened their mutual respect and trust. As they completed the prism sequence, the chamber opened to reveal a central archive containing an extraordinary holographic library. The images projected scenes of advanced alien societies, their technologies, and their philosophies. Leora's eyes widened. They understood the galaxy in ways we've never imagined. Their knowledge isn't just technical, it's about understanding life, intelligence, and cooperation. Marcus nodded, impressed by the depth of the discovery. And they trusted the observer. They didn't expect brute force or grand displays. They needed understanding. That's why humans and someone like you succeed here. The revelations in the expanse began to shift their perspective on the galaxy. The civilizations that had built these structures had valued intelligence, patience, and insight over power, status, or spectacle. In many ways, Marcus realized, humans had always operated in the same way, underestimated, overlooked, but capable of seeing solutions where others saw only obstacles. Leora, once dismissed as insignificant, was now essential to unlocking the galaxy's forgotten wisdom. As days passed, they continued to explore, decoding more chambers and understanding deeper layers of the alien technology. They discovered methods of energy harnessing, navigation techniques, and philosophical insights that suggested civilizations had once collaborated across species for mutual benefit. Every discovery reinforced the idea that intelligence and collaboration were far more powerful than brute force or rigid hierarchy. One evening, as the ship drifted through the soft glow of the nebula, Leora spoke quietly. "Do you think the galaxy will ever understand what we've uncovered?" Marcus considered this, watching the light of distant stars filter through the nebula. "Some will, some may never fully grasp it, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that we do. What matters is that we've proven what underestimated minds can achieve." She nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Then perhaps being overlooked is not a disadvantage. Perhaps it's the greatest advantage we have." Marcus smiled. "Exactly. Being underestimated allows you to act without expectation. It allows you to observe, learn, and create without interference. That's why we're succeeding here. The next day brought another breakthrough. They discovered a series of interconnected chambers containing holographic records of alien diplomacy, interstellar engineering, and cultural studies. The depth and sophistication of the knowledge were staggering. Leora's interpretations were essential to understanding the context, while Marcus's practical calculations allowed them to interact safely with delicate energy systems. Together, they achieved results that neither could have accomplished alone. As they worked, news of their progress began to reach the Dominion and the larger galactic audience. Alien dignitaries who had once doubted Leora now spoke of her with quiet respect. Humans, long underestimated, were being recognized as essential partners in understanding the expanse. The combination of Marcus and Leora had demonstrated that intelligence, patience, and observation could achieve what brute force never could. One evening, Leora paused to reflect. Do you think people will ever understand why we were chosen? That it wasn't about status, power, or appearance, but about seeing the world differently? Marcus looked at her, his expression calm but firm. I think some will understand eventually, but more importantly, we understand, and that's enough. Recognition is secondary, understanding is primary. She smiled, a quiet, genuine smile. Then I'm glad you understand. You've always seen what others ignored. Marcus nodded. And I'm glad you've shown me that sometimes the least admired are the ones who can teach the most. Their work in the expanse continued, and with every discovery, their partnership grew stronger. They became more than explorers. They became collaborators, teachers, and living proof that underestimated minds could achieve extraordinary things. The galaxy, once dismissive of both humans and Leora, was slowly beginning to see their worth, not through spectacle, not through force, but through intelligence, insight, and perseverance. As they prepared to transmit the most significant findings yet, Leora paused and looked at Marcus. Do you think they'll be ready to understand this, to appreciate what we found? Marcus smiled faintly. Some will, some may never fully grasp it, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that we understand it, and that we've proven the value of intelligence, patience, and collaboration. That's what changes the galaxy, not displays of power. Leora nodded, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the nebula. Then we will continue. Even if no one notices, even if the galaxy is slow to appreciate it, we will keep learning, keep understanding, and keep proving that underestimated minds can succeed. And so, Marcus and Leora pressed on. Each day in the auroral expanse brought new challenges, new discoveries, and new lessons. The nebula, vast and indifferent, had become a proving ground, a place where the quiet, the overlooked, and the underestimated could demonstrate their worth. Marcus and Leora had shown that intelligence, collaboration, and insight could achieve what spectacle and force never could. As the ship glided through shimmering clouds of gas, their bond solidified. They had become a team, a pair whose strengths complemented each other perfectly. Leora's unconventional thinking, once dismissed as irrelevant, was now essential to their mission. Marcus's calm reasoning and human intuition allowed them to navigate safely through dangers that no one else could predict. Together, they were unstoppable, not through violence, not through status, but through intelligence, patience, and determination. The galaxy may have underestimated them. The Dominion may have dismissed Leora. But in the heart of the auroral expanse, two minds had proven that the underestimated could change the course of discovery and redefine what was possible. The lessons of the nebula were clear. Intelligence, insight, and perseverance could outshine status, spectacle, and force. And in this realization, the human soldier and the least admired princess had become more than explorers. They had become symbols of what the galaxy had long failed to recognize. As they prepared for the final layer of the expanse, Marcus and Leora knew the real impact of their mission was only beginning. Their discoveries would challenge assumptions, inspire collaboration, and demonstrate that the galaxy's measure of strength had been incomplete all along. The underestimated had triumphed, not through conflict, but through the quiet, persistent power of understanding and ingenuity. And as the glowing clouds of the nebula enveloped their ship, they felt a shared certainty. They were about to show the galaxy that intelligence, patience, and insight could achieve what status, appearances, and force could not, and that the human spirit, combined with the least admired princess of the Zevran Dominion, could accomplish the extraordinary. The auroral expanse glowed like a sea of liquid stars, its endless clouds of color swirling gently around the ship. Marcus and Leora stood side by side in the observation deck, gazing out at the nebula that had become both their classroom and their proving ground. Months of careful exploration, patient observation, and collaboration had led them to discoveries no one else in the galaxy had imagined. "Do you realize what we've done?" Leora asked softly, her voice almost lost in the hum of the ship. "The galaxy assumed we would fail. They didn't expect anything from the least admired princess or from a human soldier." Marcus looked at her, a faint smile on his face. "I think they're about to realize that being underestimated is one of our greatest strengths. We've done what they couldn't, not because of power, status, or spectacle, but because we saw what others ignored." Leora's eyes gleamed with quiet triumph. "And they'll have to notice now. They'll have to understand that intelligence, patience, and observation are worth more than titles and appearances." The ship's communication system suddenly lit up with messages from the Dominion and other interstellar authorities. Officials, scientists, and even rival explorers wanted to witness the results firsthand. Leora and Marcus had prepared detailed reports, but now it was time to share the actual discoveries. Carefully, they aligned the ship's transmission array and began projecting the holographic archives across multiple channels. Across the galaxy, beings of every species paused to watch. The crystalline structures of the auroral expanse, once dismissed as mysterious or dangerous, now appeared in intricate detail. The holographic projections displayed energy systems, navigation methods, and philosophical teachings that challenged everything previously believed about advanced civilizations. Leora narrated the findings with precision, explaining the lessons embedded in the architecture, the energy flows, and the holographic data. Marcus demonstrated how the patterns could be interpreted and applied, showing the practical impact of their observations. At first, there was silence. Many viewers had assumed the reports would be unremarkable, a minor exploration mission. Instead, they were witnessing a revelation. The galaxy's understanding of intelligence, strategy, and collaboration was incomplete. Systems previously considered lost, technologies long forgotten, and philosophies overlooked for centuries were suddenly accessible, decoded by the combination of human ingenuity and Leora's perceptive insight. A wave of murmurs spread across the Dominion and beyond. Scholars, scientists, and even political leaders began to recognize the significance of what had been achieved. Leora, once overlooked, was now at the center of attention, not for her royal title, but for her brilliance and the ability to see connections that others had dismissed. Humans, previously underestimated in diplomatic and intellectual arenas, were now being acknowledged as indispensable collaborators in understanding the galaxy. Leora turned to Marcus, her expression a mix of awe and quiet satisfaction. "Do you see it?" she asked. "They're beginning to understand," Marcus nodded. "Yes, and it's just the beginning. They may have ignored intelligence and insight for centuries, but now they have to take notice. Not because we demanded it, but because the truth is undeniable." In the days that followed, representatives from the Dominion visited the ship, eager to witness the discoveries firsthand. Leora explained the lessons embedded in the structures, emphasizing how they had been designed to reward observation, patience, and understanding. Marcus demonstrated the human perspective, showing how intuition and adaptability had made sense of complex energy patterns and structures that might have defeated others. The combination was astonishing. Leaders who had once mocked Leora for her unconventional ideas now sought her advice, while scholars marveled at Marcus's ability to interpret data creatively and accurately. The least admired princess and the human soldier had demonstrated that intelligence and collaboration could achieve what force and status never could. As their fame grew, Leora remained grounded. She did not seek titles, glory, or accolades. Instead, she focused on sharing the knowledge and teaching others to see what they had overlooked. Marcus, too, remained modest, preferring the quiet satisfaction of discovery over recognition. Together, they became symbols of a new way of thinking, that patience, observation, and collaboration could achieve results far beyond what spectacle or power could accomplish. One evening, as the ship drifted through a particularly vivid section of the nebula, Leora turned to Marcus with a soft smile. "Do you remember the first day we met, when you chose me, the least admired princess?" Marcus nodded, recalling the whispers of the courtiers, the disbelief of other princesses, and the quiet confidence he had felt in his choice. Yes, it was clear to me then what you could see that others could not. I just hoped you would see the same in me. She laughed softly. I do. You've shown me that patience, insight, and understanding can be more powerful than recognition and admiration. And together, we've shown the galaxy the same thing. Marcus smiled, his gaze steady. The galaxy is slow to learn, but sometimes the quiet lessons leave the strongest impact. The following weeks brought invitations from the leaders of other civilizations. Humans and Zevran alike were asked to share their techniques, their methods of collaboration, and the lessons of the auroral expanse. Marcus and Leora conducted demonstrations, teaching others how to observe patterns, recognize subtle signals, and value insight over spectacle. The impact was immediate. Teams that had previously struggled with exploration or diplomacy began to succeed when applying the principles they had learned. Leora found herself admired, not for her title, but for her intelligence and courage. The lessons she had developed, refined through experience and tested alongside Marcus, began to reshape how the galaxy approached exploration, technology, and interspecies collaboration. Humans, often underestimated, were finally recognized for their unique abilities, creativity, intuition, and adaptability. One day, while preparing a new demonstration for a visiting delegation, Leora paused and looked out at the nebula. "It's strange," she said softly. "I was once dismissed as insignificant. Now the galaxy is learning from me." Marcus placed a hand lightly on her shoulder. "You were never insignificant. You were simply overlooked. That's the difference. The galaxy assumed status mattered more than substance. We've shown them otherwise." Leora's eyes glimmered with quiet pride. "And it isn't just me, it's us. The human perspective and my insight, together we've proven that the underestimated can achieve the extraordinary." Marcus nodded. "Exactly, and it doesn't stop here. We've only begun to show what's possible when people look beyond appearances and assumptions." Their partnership continued to grow stronger, blending intelligence, intuition, and careful observation in a way that no single individual could replicate. The galaxy began to recognize the importance of combining different perspectives, valuing insight over spectacle, and fostering collaboration rather than competition. As months passed, Leora and Marcus documented their discoveries, sending detailed reports to the Dominion and sharing knowledge with scholars and explorers across countless star systems. Each report carried not only the findings themselves, but also lessons about perception, patience, and the value of underestimated minds. The galaxy was changing. Scholars who once doubted Leora's abilities now cited her work. Leaders who had ignored humans now consulted Marcus for advice on interpreting complex situations. The least admired princess and the human soldier had demonstrated that recognition and status were secondary to intelligence, collaboration, and courage. One quiet night, Leora and Marcus stood together in the observation deck, watching the nebula glow in shifting colors. "Do you think we've truly made a difference?" Leora asked. Marcus smiled, his gaze steady. "I think we've changed how the galaxy sees intelligence and collaboration. That's a difference that will last far longer than any ceremony, title, or display." Leora nodded. "Then our work isn't finished, but I feel satisfied. Not because we've been recognized, but because we've proven that the underestimated can achieve greatness." Marcus looked out at the nebula, the gentle waves of color reflecting in his eyes. "That's the real lesson. Recognition is temporary, but insight and understanding endure. And the galaxy will never be the same because of what we've done." The days continued with exploration, teaching, and collaboration. New missions were planned, incorporating the lessons Marcus and Leora had learned. Teams composed of humans and Zevran, working alongside other species, began to approach challenges with patience, observation, and creativity. The galaxy had begun to shift its perspective, valuing what was overlooked rather than focusing solely on status or power. In the quiet moments, when the ship drifted through clouds of softly glowing gas, Leora often reflected on how far she had come. Once the least admired princess, dismissed by her peers and underestimated by the galaxy, she now stood as a symbol of insight and perseverance. Marcus, a human soldier quietly underestimated by nearly everyone, had proven that intuition, observation, and reasoning could achieve what brute force could not. Together, They had rewritten what it meant to be capable in the galaxy. Not through power, not through spectacle, and not through status, but through intelligence, collaboration, and courage. They had shown that being underestimated was not a weakness. It was an advantage, a hidden strength waiting to be recognized. And as the ship glided onward, deeper into the glowing clouds of the auroral expanse, Marcus and Leora knew that their journey was far from over. New mysteries awaited, new challenges would arise, but they faced them with confidence, knowing that their combined abilities could succeed where others could not. The galaxy had learned to see them differently, and through their work, it had begun to understand the true power of insight, observation, and perseverance. In the end, it was not glory, titles, or admiration that defined their legacy. It was the quiet, patient, and enduring demonstration of what the underestimated could achieve. Marcus and Leora had proven that intelligence, collaboration, and courage could change the course of the galaxy, and that even those overlooked by history could become the architects of its future. As they watched the nebula glow and ripple around them, Marcus spoke softly. The galaxy will remember this not because we demanded it, but because we showed it. Quietly, carefully, and with understanding. That's our gift. Leora smiled, placing a hand lightly on his. And it is more than enough. Together, they looked out at the endless expanse of stars and color, two underestimated minds who had changed the galaxy forever, proving that the power of insight, patience, and collaboration could achieve what no force, title, or ceremony ever could.